Today on Locked On Rockies, dominating the Dodgers.
You are Locked On Rockies, your daily Colorado Rockies podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Rock on Rockies fans, Paulden here from the Locked On Rockies podcast, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk, your daily Colorado Rockies podcast right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm Paul Holden, your Rockies fan extraordinaire, following the team my whole life and been bringing you your daily Rockies podcast for a year and change now here, talking Colorado Rockies all year long, all the time. That's what I do. It's what I love to do, and I hope you all love it too, because we got a great audience here on the Locked On Podcast Network, especially the Locked On Rockies fans always popping into our live chat, which you can be a part of when you subscribe to Locked On Rockies on YouTube. We're also free and streaming on your favorite streaming service, so you can take Rockies action wherever you go. And hey, all that action, that rate, reviews, those subscribes, huge help for me. Today's episode of the Locked On Rockies podcast is brought to you by Blue Nile. Blue Nile, make your moment sparkle with jewelry from BlueNile.com. And Locked On Rockies listeners get $50 off purchases of $500 or more. This podcast exclusive includes engagement. Use code LOCKEDON at checkout. Today on Locked On Rockies, arguably the best win of the year for the Colorado Rockies. We are going to break it all down. Why is it the best win of the year? What can this possibly mean for the season? Is it too little, too late? Of course, all of those questions, plus the other big factor, the big storyline of last night, Kris Bryant's return to the lineup. But we got to start with the Kuhl man group, the Kuhl whip, the man who keeps it cool, the dominant pitcher for the Colorado Rockies this year. Chad Kuhl goes out and throws an absolutely stunning ball game. 3 hits, no walks, 5 strikeouts over 9 innings pitched. I mean, folks, that is domination. That is crushing. That is going after a division rival when your team is down, when your team needs something big like this and doing something special. That is a special pitching performance. To do that against that team, that's unbelievable. And this is, if you are hoping for a change, if you are looking for some big moment that could start a swing, if you're looking down the line in the season at a possible turning moment of the season, if this turns out to lead to a positive stretch of Rockies baseball, this will be a game you point to. A 17-game streak of division games starts with the best in the biz coming to town. And what happens? Your 5th man in the rotation goes out there and spins an absolutely dominating gem. No walks to the Dodgers? Folks, that is a special start. The 3 hits, you might be like, oh, it's 3 hits. It's not a shutout, a complete game shutout in the year 2022 against the Dodgers at Coors Field. I mean, you might as well have thrown a no-hitter. Honestly, I mean, obviously it doesn't have the same impact, but for the Rockies, this is massive. For the team, this is huge. For Rockies fans, this is big. This is a sign. This is again, why be so excited over a team that's now 9 games below 500? Back to 10 games. They're still 10 games below 500. Sorry. They are now 10. They're 10. They knocks them back up to 10 games below 500. What is there to be excited about? It shows you the potential of this Rockies team. It shows you that this team still has the chance to dominate at home. The Rockies offense could have made this game an embarrassment for the Dodgers. They could have put this well away if they were runners in scoring position, errors still weren't biting them. However, the Rockies got enough done, and the lineup gets a huge boost in terms of Kris Bryant. It just makes everything flow a little bit more, and then it's highlighted by the fact that your pitcher goes out and dominates. Getting that type of start is a once in a lifetime, once in a season, I guess, opportunity for Chad Kuhl. And I think for him, of all people, to continue to go out there and be this especially after his most recent starts. Let's get his last few starts up here and let's compare how big of a swing this is for Chad Kuhl in his last few starts. Last 3 games here for Chad Kuhl, 2 losses, it doesn't go more than 5, gives up 7 hits against Cleveland, 2 earned runs, 2 walks, 7 strikeouts. Not too bad. And then the 6 hits, 4 earned, 3 strikeouts, 2 walks. Eliminates the walks, goes the distance, cuts the hits down, and eliminates the earned runs while still striking out folks. He's now, over his last 7 games, he's got a 3.5 ERA with 14 earned runs, 16 walks, and 27 strikeouts with a 1.43 whip. It's pretty high up there, that whip still. But again, those are now 3 pretty darn good starts and one that's an absolute domination, especially at home. That's something that's very, very special. That's something I think that it matters. It really, really matters, especially for him when he's coming back after having some a stretch that wasn't really that great for him. Like I said, the San Diego start there on June 10th, 8 hits, 5 runs, 1 home run given up, 5 walks there. He's walked batters in games dating back to May 6th, but then puts the big 0 on the board for probably one of the best starts, if not the best start of Chad Kuhl's career. And that is when it's we're talking spark yesterday. We're talking, is there a chance? I got a text message here from my Rockies fan. Let me read the text message here that I got. Any chance that at all that KB's return could jumpstart this team to a 500 record, please? It's going to take more than just KB returning, but at least yesterday, this is the Rockies team that we were supposed to get this year. This is the Rockies team that we were, at least the lineup. You're not going to shut out the Dodgers and beat them 4-0 every time. We are at least going to get a longer look at what this team truly is capable of. Because when Kris Bryant was in the lineup and when he was contributing with the team was successful. If Kris Bryant's return mixes with Chad Kuhl continuing to be really good and can take this start, he's not going to shut out everyone. But if he can continue to keep damage done, if he can continue to limit walks and get 6-inning performances from your 5th man in your rotation, that's a good sign. Even I think Locked On Dodgers even said Tyler Anderson, 4 runs. Tyler Anderson didn't necessarily have a bad start yesterday. Tyler had 6 innings, and he gave up the 10 hits, but only the 4 earned runs, 1 walk, 2 strikeouts. That's not necessarily horrible. Rockies getting those 10 hits and only plating 4 is massive, especially when the Rockies needed the long ball to drive in 2 of those runs. But to outduel the Dodgers, that is something. That is and to go out there and to compete with the Dodgers. The Dodgers are a little banged up right now with some of their players, but anytime that you want to build some momentum as the Rockies, beating the Dodgers and crushing the Dodgers is a great way to start. Let's dive deeper into the impact of Kris Bryant's return and if that can propel the team to a 500 record. But before we do that, got to tell you about some of the folks that help make this show possible, and that includes BlueNile.com. Whether you're ready to pop the question or you're celebrating a milestone moment, find jewelry as unique as your favorite person with the modern convenience of online shopping at BlueNile.com. Blue Nile has simple tools that let you choose the diamond shape, size, and clarity, as well as setting style. Blue Nile's bench jewelers will then handcraft the perfect engagement ring. Each ring is one of a kind. If you're looking for fine jewelry but having trouble choosing, like me, I would need help. That's the thing. An online shopping experience, I would need someone there to make sure that I am making the right move when it comes to jewelry. Well, Blue Nile has jewelry experts on hand 24/7, available on the phone or via the chat to help you find a memorable gift at every budget. Make your moment sparkle with jewelry from BlueNile.com. And Locked On Rockies listeners get $50 off purchases of $500 or more. This podcast exclusive includes engagement. Use code Locked On. That's code Locked On. Plus, every order is insured, ships free, and arrives in discreet packaging that won't give away what's inside. Shop stress-free and find your forever peace. Go to BlueNile.com. Plus, folks, save yourself time and money and skip the trip to your local auto parts store. Well, sometimes you got to help out the local folks, but those big chain box stores, all they're doing is looking up computers for you and they're just typing things in. You can do all of that from rockauto.com. And when you do that, you are supporting a family business of do-it-yourself or serving do-it-yourselfers for over 20 years. Plus, you're going to save time and money. Don't spend 30%, 50%, even 100% more for the same parts from a chain store. They have it all at rockauto.com and more. They got the brake parts, the tail lamps, the motor oil, the new carpet, and so much more. Their prices are always reliably low for every customer. Go explore their easy-to-use website today to find the solution to your auto parts needs. Go to rockauto.com right now and see all the parts available for your car or truck. Right, Locked On in their How Did You Hear About Us box so they know that we sent you. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. rockauto.com. Folks, welcome into the Locked On Rockies podcast. If you're joining us here in the live chat, we have so many great Rockies fans that do. And join just that. You can subscribe on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel there. Before the break, we were talking about Kris Bryant's return. What does this mean for the Colorado Rockies? And I was asked, can this propel the team back to 500? The road back to 500 comes over the next 17 games. You really have the season doesn't get any easier, and the impact of Kris Bryant on the lineup isn't going to become any more clear after these 17 games. We're going to see, we're going to have to see what it means over like a week's worth of time or something of that nature. But the lineup just looks better. The lineup has a feel. The lineup has a different threat. The lineup now has something that pitching staffs that play the Rockies haven't been preparing for. When you just go down the 9 players in the batting order for the Rockies, you feel more confident when Kris Bryant is in there. That's what this means for the team. Teams have to take a different approach. Teams have to prepare for someone that has been one of the best players in baseball versus preparing for Sam Hilliard. That's kind of something that you have to keep in mind. The Rockies are now getting to rely on the player that they paid a lot of money and put a lot of faith into, than players that their backlog of outfielders that haven't necessarily broken out and been dominant forces. Kris Bryant just adds an entire different wrinkle to this team. Is it going to help propel them all the way back to 500 and into relevancy? It's going to take a lot of work. It's going to take the Rockies doing something they haven't done this year, which is play good, long, consistent stretches of good baseball. However, the last time the Rockies did play good, long, consistent stretches of good baseball this season was at the beginning of the year when Kris Bryant was in the lineup every single day. We still haven't seen Kris Bryant use the long ball yet. We still haven't seen Kris Bryant go deep, but we have seen Kris Bryant get on base and get hits. In his first game back yesterday for the Rockies, he goes 1 for 4 with the hit. But it's just the fact that he is look at the lineup. Connor Joe, Jonathan Daza, Kris Bryant, CJ Cron, Brendan Rodgers, Jose Iglesias, Ryan McMahon, Randall Grichuk, and Elias Diaz. That is the Rockies roster, the Rockies batting order that makes you feel the most confident in this team being able to be successful on the offensive side of the ball. It also gives you a lot of opportunity to move players around. Ryan McMahon is now in a different role. Ryan McMahon can now go back and deeper into the lineup and provide a better bat there and get in better situations that are suited for him. Jose Iglesias can continue to be paired up with Ryan McMahon, or can now be paired up with Ryan McMahon at the bottom of the order, being 2 bats that can contribute at the bottom, especially when Iglesias has been a little bit better of a hitter. And now that McMahon is heating up, you add some deep to pad around Elias Diaz, who has been struggling this year offensively, but has started to see a little bit more life and has started to pick things back up as well. You feel a lot more confident in your top 5 when it's Joe, Daza. Daza's still the big surprise there. But again, Joe, Bryant, Cron, Rodgers, those are all 4 players that you feel confident in the offense. And then Jonathan Daza's improvements this year as well. That's the 4 people I want leading this Rockies roster or order. That is how the order, I like how that order looks. I might move Rodgers around. I might even try Rodgers in the 2-hole eventually and put Daza somewhere else. But Daza and Joe have been a pretty darn good 1-2 punch at the top of the lineup. Even though Daza has been cooling off a little bit, I still think those 4 are the ideal way for the Rockies to start their lineup. The Rockies in that 9, Connor Joe gets another multi-hit game. Chris Bryant with the hit, CJ Cron with the hit, Rogers with 2 hits, Iglesias with the hit, McMahon, Grichuk with a couple hits, and Diaz. Again, this Rocky, they need to score more. They left far too many people on base, and they had ample opportunities out hitting the Dodgers 11-3 in that game. But another thing to note here, clean baseball. Another game, no errors. Now we have to watch with one thing that can help. Not only is Chris Bryant's impact on the offensive side going to think, what does Chris Bryant's return for the defensive side of things? Is Chris Bryant going to help this team be a better defensive team? I haven't often thought of Chris Bryant's defense as being the reason why the Rockies went out and got him. I haven't necessarily thought of Chris Bryant's defense being a part of the elite part of his game. So I don't necessarily know what that means for the Rockies. But if Chris Bryant's return just returns the team to a consistency and kind of brings in and demands that I'm the MVP, I've come from this before, this is how we got it done, these are the steps and the things we needed to do to get to that next level, maybe there's that. Maybe I'm putting too much, I'm kind of saying all these things and relating them all back to Chris Bryant because he is supposed to be the leader of this team. He is supposed to be the big new piece. He is supposed to be someone that is going to impact the Rockies both on the field and the mental state of their game, the confidence part of the game, their faith in the team and their abilities. It was a good first start. The first step was a positive one in the right direction. The road back to relevancy for the Colorado Rockies is long. It's treacherous with one of the hardest matches, with some of the hardest matchups for the rest of the season. Let's take a look at strength of schedule for the rest of the year. If I got it correct, I believe the Rockies are now I think they have the second worst or second hardest strength of schedule remaining in baseball. Let's see. We are on Power Rankings Guru. Let's see. This has the Rockies a little bit lower, but that's, I think, a accumulated. Here we go. Remaining schedule strength. The Rockies from tankathon.com. The Rockies rank second with a strength of schedule of 533. This it calculates the combined winning percentage for all the opponents left for the Rockies. So the Rockies, the combined winning percentage of the opponents the Rockies face for the rest of the season have a 533 winning percentage, all of them combined. That ranks only behind the Red Sox, who are leading the league with a 544 strength of schedule left. Tampa Bay right behind the Rockies at 532, but then it's a drop off to 525 for Baltimore, Oakland, and Arizona. Interestingly enough, that's one to watch there as well, with them having a pretty difficult strength of schedule. The Dodgers, if you're comparing it to the division, they fall down to 12th. San Francisco right behind. They kind of both have similar schedules. It looks like they're the Dodgers in San Francisco. No surprise there. And if you're comparing it for the NL West, interesting enough, the Padres with the easiest at 16th with 497. So that can Chris Bryant get the team back to 500? Well, it's going to come against the best. It's going to come up against teams that have been winning this year. The Rockies have been interesting in the fact that they've beat teams that are good teams and have struggled against teams that are bad. They have a winning record against the Dodgers this year, but they go to Pittsburgh and Pittsburgh dominates them. The Nationals beat the Rockies, but the Rockies have just swept the Padres. The weirdness of the Colorado Rockies continues, but it's going to take more than just Chris Bryant's return for the Rockies to get back to 500. But just keeping with like what we talked about yesterday, the spark, the pulse of the team, Chris Bryant's return amplified by Chad Kuhl's start. Those are at least the two things to keep the pulse alive, to start the foundation of something special. You don't need to win 17 games, but you need to go 12-5, 10-7. You got to go above 500 from here on out for the rest of the season. If the Rockies want to be relevant. I don't even know if it's enough to get back to the third wild card spot, but to get above 500, you got to play above 500 from here on out. Every month has to be a winning month for the Rockies from here on out. For the second half of the season, if you want the Rockies to be above 500, it's got to come from more than just Chris Bryant, and it's got to come from playing above 500 baseball. Let's take a look at tonight's matchup for the Rockies. Before we do that, got to tell you about our friends at BetOnline. BetOnline.net is your number one source for all your betting needs and sports info. Find all of the latest sports developments, league reviews, and news, including this year's Major League Baseball season and all the action going on during the year. Folks, if you want to get in during the game, if you were watching last night, you're like, "Ooh, Chad Kuhl is dealing. I want to get in on some live betting." Well, BetOnline is the spot for you. They also got esports, they got the score bets, they got all sorts of cool props for you to check out as well at BetOnline. And BetOnline remains the best spot for all your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. BetOnline.net is the fastest and easiest way to check in on all your favorite sports and events, including MMA, boxing, and golf. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action. BetOnline, where the game starts. The Colorado Rockies take on the Dodgers, a series win on the line here for the Rockies. The second series win for the Rockies this season against the Dodgers on the line tonight, as the Rockies are going to turn to the top of their order and go with Kyle Freeland. I believe Kyle Freeland's on the bump today. Let me make sure and double check. It is Clayton Kershaw against Kyle Freeland. Kershaw has been great this year. If the Rockies want another signature kind of momentum-building win, it's going to come at roughing Clayton Kershaw up. And sometimes the Rockies have been successful at doing that. On the other side, though, the Dodgers have been pretty successful at roughing up Kyle Freeland as well. Gavin Lux in his 5 at-bats against Kyle Freeland is batting .600 with 2 RBIs. Max Muncy, of course, is known to kill the Rockies. Same with Will Smith and Chris Taylor. Everybody in this lineup, Justin Turner, Trey Turner, all of them have gotten experience against Kyle Freeland there. And all of them have scored, and no one has a batting average except for Max Muncy under 250 against them. Freddie Freeman, not as many at-bats there. And Austin Barnes, the Freeland has had success there with a 130 batting average in 23 attempts against Kyle Freeland. On the other side for the Rockies, Charlie Blackmon has had a lot of experience up against Clayton Kershaw, the most of the Rockies, this roster by far. This is, again, a Rockies team with some new faces here that might not have matched up with Kershaw. You're kind of surprised maybe that Charlie Blackmon's the only one with more than 15 at-bats against Kershaw for the Colorado Rockies, which is kind of interesting with Ryan. I feel like Ryan McMahon should have more on this list. I'm just not seeing them listed on this MLB game day lineup card. I figured McMahon would have some more. Same with Brendan Rodgers as well, but they aren't been younger, and maybe with Kershaw's IL stints and things of that nature, not always matching up. But Charlie Blackmon, man, this is a pretty darn good line to have against what will be a no doubt Hall of Famer, one of the best pitchers we've seen. 273 batting average over 66 at bats, 4 home runs and 7 RBIs. Chris Bryant's had success against Kershaw as well in 13 at-bats, a 308 batting average, 2 home runs and 3 RBIs. Boy, would that be a big time for Chris Bryant to get his first home run of the year off of Kershaw. CJ Cron, not so much luck against Kershaw, batting 143 and 7 at-bats there. Garrett Hampson has got a 417 average against Kershaw in 12 at-bats, 1 home run, 2 RBI. Again, so, what can we look forward tonight? Kyle Freeland has to be as good as he has been. Kyle Freeland had a great start, spoiled once again from the Rockies, letting him down in his last start when he goes 7 innings, gives up the 7 hits, but only the 2 runs there. Hasn't been giving up a ton of runs, but those hits can prove to be dangerous, especially like a team with the Dodgers. Eric Harper in the chat says Freeland is going to bring the heat. I hope so, because man, that's how you keep moving in the right direction. Get you 2 back-to-back wins, you win this series against Kershaw, head into Game 3, looking for the sweep of the Dodgers. Something I'm sure it's been a long, long time since the Rockies have ever swept the Dodgers. But anyway, the challenge is here. This is it. This is kind of, again, if you want to get back to 500, if you want to get back to relevancy, if you want to compete with the big dogs, games like tonight are perfect examples of how to do that. Go up against the 5-1 Clayton Kershaw with the 2-point ERA. You're in Coors Field, you got your big bat back, and now it's time to show what this team is made of and keep showing us what they're made of across this stretch of division baseball. Folks, that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Thank you all so much for tuning in. We will be breaking things down all season long right here on the Locked On Rockies podcast. So subscribe to Locked On Rockies on YouTube so you can be in the live chat just like Eric Harper is every day. Shout outs to Eric. Shout outs to all of you out there for listening to us here on the Locked On Podcast Network and us here on Locked On Rockies. You can find all sorts of Colorado sports, Locked On Avalanche, Locked On Nuggets, and Locked On Broncos on the Locked On Podcast Network. Plus, you can find us at LO Rockies and myself at Paul Holden 33 on Twitter. Big game tonight, 6:40 first pitch Mountain Time. Kyle Freeland versus Kyle Freeland. Big time game tonight. Folks, that's going to do it for me here on the Locked On Rockies podcast. Thank you so much for listening. And until next time, I'm Paul Holden saying so long from the Locked On Rockies podcast.